Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Blogging Theology special. And I'm very pleased and honored to be joined by an independent journalist by the name of Abdussamed Dagl. Salam alaikum. You're most welcome, sir.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
It's a great honor. Thank you very much for giving of your time. I know you've been incredibly busy, unbelievably busy in the recent weeks and months. Because you are, as I say, an independent journalist. You run the New Middle East podcast on the web, which people can look at. But you have been following in real time. You've been there during the most momentous events in modern history in Syria. Can you just tell us why you're there, who you are, why you're there, and just some of the incredible experiences and things you've seen in Damascus in recent weeks?
Yes, again, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here and to be able to speak to your audience. I'm Abdussamed Dagül. I'm from Turkish origin. I was born and raised in Germany. I've actually studied media, and I started practicing Islam because I was like many of the youth in Europe, the Muslim youth. I was not really practicing Islam up until I was 19. In 2012, I started practicing Islam, and I felt like I need to do something more for Islam. And then I was actively working in the media field for the Dawah scene in Germany. At that time, it was very, very busy, the Dawah scene in Germany. And after that, as we all, the whole Ummah or the whole world even, started seeing and following the events in Syria, and all those videos coming out of Syria, they were not bearable. And I felt like I need to be there and do something more than just sitting in Germany and sending some money to the people who are in need, So I felt like I need to come here and be their voice, the voice of the voiceless, the voice of the oppressed. And I came here since 2014. I'm here actively working as an independent journalist and a war reporter. I try to be the voice of the voiceless and report, from on the ground, alhamdulillah. And like you've mentioned, I can go on. I was here also in these recent events now that the whole world is right now speaking about in the recent weeks in Syria, as how the rebel forces have taken over almost 80% of Syria and caused the downfall of the dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad. And I mean, there is a lot to say. It was an amazing feeling.
So it was absolutely amazing. I mean, people can follow you on Twitter and you get the real sense of being there almost, because you film there's some amazing scenes with huge crowds in central Damascus celebrating the liberation of their country. And you're there broadcasting in English and in Turkish as well. And your English is flawless. And obviously you speak Turkish and you're German and so on. So as remarkable, you're able to communicate on those different levels to different people, different groups of people. But just as a complete outsider, I've never, unfortunately, been to Syria. I'd love to have gone to Damascus. Maybe one day now, inshallah, it's going to be possible. Of course, many of us too, because it's such a beautiful city with history, thousands of years of history, which we've not been able to access or visit for a long, long time because of the political situation. But just some of those moments, I've seen you on the day of liberation, filming, panning across the huge, vast crowd, hundreds of thousands of people. What was it like being there? I mean, it's like the Berlin. The only comparison, perhaps, good for you in a way, because it's like the Berlin Wall coming down in Germany in the 1980s. That moment when Germans, oh my goodness me, suddenly we're together again. We're not split off from our families. We don't fear the state so much. We're free. Perhaps was it like that? Was it like the Berlin Wall coming down?
I mean, I'm too young to speak about those events, but we have seen some of the videos and the pictures, and of course we have studied the history of it in school in Germany. Right. But I think, as you have mentioned, that people were able to connect with each other again, and family members who were separated for over a decade, they were able to see each other. And up until now, it's still a feeling that feels not true yet, not real yet, because it's too good to be true, you know. And and some of us still think like, is it like just a good dream that we're gonna wake up from one day, you know? And we wish not to wake up from it, because you know, especially I was there, and also in Saydnaya, in those torture houses and slaughterhouses, in those prisons, and I've seen people who were in prison for 44 years, and their family members thought they were dead. For 44 years, they had given up hope on them. And after 44 years, it's not 44 days, it's not 44 months or 4 years, it's 44 years. It's actually over 4 decades. It's unbelievable. And these people came out and they were still alive. Of course, most of them had lost their mental health. They're not really all there anymore, because you know, from the results of the torture and all the, you know, all the crazy stuff that the Assad regime and its forces and militants were conducting upon these people and doing on these people. But still, people came out, you know, even if the rebel forces wouldn't be able to take vast lands like this, only to free Saydnaya prison would be a big victory for the Muslims, because there were nearly 3,000 inmates who were freed. There were many sisters, Muslim sisters. There was, as one example, it's really sad to know these stories, but we as Muslims, or we as human, should know these stories, so this history doesn't you know, repeat itself. You know, there was one sister, she was in prison when she was young, when she was 19, and she was in prison as a virgin, and she came out now today 32 years old with 4 children that she doesn't know the fathers of.
Amazing.
Because she was raped by so many militants inside the prison, you know. To free this woman out of this prison, wallah, is victory in itself, you know. So the feeling is very amazing feeling. And Allah allowed me also, one amazing thing for me, alhamdulillah, was that 3 years ago I had promised myself that one day, inshallah, I will you know, do the sajdat shukr in the garden of the Umayyad Mosque in Sham. And also in my podcast studio, if you can look at it in the studio, I bought a mosaic art, which is like handmade with natural stones of the Umayyad Mosque. And I paid a lot of money for that picture, because it meant for me so much. And it was like, it was for me and for my audience always to see and remember what the goal is. You know, what, like, that one day we will reach this place. And after 3 years only, Allah allowed me and us, the Muslims, to go there and to make the Sajda Shukr inside the Umayyad Mosque. And actually, because I was, alhamdulillah, Allah allowed me to be on the front lines reporting from inside the clashes. I was so fast in Damascus that the rebel forces, because they were still fighting and still repelling, you know, the Assad regime from those areas, or you know, forcing them out of those areas, that nobody was yet in their mind to go to the Umayyad Mosque. So when I came to the Umayyad Mosque, the door was actually still closed. Allah allowed me to open the doors of the Umayyad Mosque, alhamdulillah. And we were the first ones to enter the garden of the Umayyad Mosque and to do the Sajda Shukr inside it, alhamdulillah. And now, inshallah,
sorry, just pause there. Can you explain to the audience what the Umayyad Mosque is and why it's so important Islamically in terms of Syria's history?
Of course, the Umayyad Mosque, from my knowledge, is like it used to be a church even before Islam. So it's roughly a 3,000-year-old building. So it's very historic building, first of all, and then second of all, then in the Umayyad time, in the Umayyad time, after, in the time of Muawiyah radiallahu anh, I think it was, if I'm not wrong, it was freed by the Muslims. It was liberated by the Muslims. Sham, Damascus, and those areas were liberated. And also Salahuddin Ayyubi's tomb is just behind the Umayyad Mosque.
Wow.
It's literally 10 meters outside the wall of the Umayyad Umayyad Mosque, his tomb. Nur ad-Din Zinki is also just 20-30 meters away. His tomb is very close. So it's for Islam, in Islamic history, is a very historical and meaningful place.
Saladin is actually, as he's called in the West, Saladin is actually buried at that place. Amazing.
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes, and also it's important because there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and with regards to the white minaret, the Manaratul Bayda, and most of the ulama, most of the scholars, they are doing the tafsir of the hadith, and they are locating the white minaret of the Umayyad Mosque that is meant that minaret, which the Isa, the Jesus, the son of Maryam, is going to descend down again on end of times, and lead the prayer of the Muslimin and the Muslim army with Mahdi, and from there they are going to start the big battle, the end of time battle. So it's very, very meaningful place, very historical place, and Allah allowed us to witness these days, alhamdulillah. So I mean, I can't really explain my emotions.
Sorry to interrupt. What was it like praying in that very mosque, which had been cut off, had been closed to so many people, that you were one of the very first, if not the first, to go into this place once the country had been liberated? What was it like going in there? And you said you prayed, but you prayed in that mosque. What was that like?
I think it was one of the most meaningful prayers for me. I tried to control myself because we were many people there, and men don't like to show emotions next to other men, but it was very difficult to keep your emotions in, especially for us, because we are foreigners. Maybe for us it doesn't mean so much as for the Syrians, but when we went in, Syrian brothers were with us, of course, the people there. And there was a very close friend of mine who was forced out of Damascus 14 years ago, and he prayed next to me. We prayed together. Everyone prayed on its own, the shukr prayer, 2 rak'ah. And the brother, when we went, when I was in sujood and he went into sujood, he was like 10 meters away from me, I think, and he started crying. But he cried like a little child. He couldn't breathe anymore, And it was very emotional, subhanallah. And I think it was one of the most emotional moments in my life. It's very difficult to explain it. Also, worth mentioning is, though, if it's true, is that it's also said that the tomb of Yahya, the Prophet Yahya, is also there. So it's a very old building.
It's a place where Jesus will return, according to some hadiths. You mentioned the minaret.
Yes.
It's a place where Saladin is buried. Possibly, John the Baptist is buried there, and it goes back, very, very long time in history. It's an extraordinary place. And the shukr, does that mean the prayer of thanksgiving? Just to put it in English for a second. So you were giving thanks to God for that this mosque had been restored to the people, and they were now worshiping God freely, as they should be.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Gosh, absolutely amazing. To change tack completely, really, and ask a question that. To talk about a point which a number of far-right commentators in the West and Germany, I've seen it there, in the UK and America, they're saying that now Syria is liberated, then surely all the Syrians living in Germany and Britain, as there are quite a few here too, should just leave the West and go back to Syria. And I think that there's a barely concealed glee and enthusiasm with wanting to rid their populations with people who have sought refuge and sanctuary and a home here, welcomed in Germany, obviously, and here too, and other places. Yes. And of course, Turkey, it's more complicated there, of course. Turkey borders Syria. But it strikes me that this is a rather cruel piece of advice or hope or even expectation, because Syria is not just suddenly a fully functioning nation anymore at the moment.
Exactly.
It's been exhausted in every conceivable way in terms of its infrastructure, organizations, the services, the government, the army, everything. So to just have a massive influx of millions of people would cause far more chaos and suffering than a carefully thought out, methodical plan of bringing the economy up to speed again. So this is a very strong call in the West to send the Syrians back, so to speak. And I think it's a very cruel thing. But what are your thoughts about that?
I think I agree with you totally. I mean, immediately yeah, the immediate call for the people to turn back to Syria is ridiculous right now, because every human who has a sound mind understands that this country just came out of 14 years of war, first of all. Second of all, there is still the threat in the east of Syria of PKK, the US-backed PKK militants. So, and they have still invading most of the fields. Petroleum fields of Syria is still controlled by the PKK militants. So right now, the rebel forces are trying to deal with that, because they want a united Syria. Of course, they don't want that Syria is being split into two, like one rebel forces and the other side US-backed PKK militants. I think right now they are trying to sort that issue out, first of all. Second of all, we have to understand, I'm very positive about the new future of Syria, because now there is a new regime, or a new government that does not see Syria as its backyard. You know, because the Assad family, since 60 years, they have accepted Syria as their backyard, and they have literally stolen the natural resources of Syria. Syria is a very, very rich country with natural resources. They have their own gas, they have their own petroleum, they have even I'm not quite sure what that is called, but they even have the natural thing that they need in the production of lithium batteries, which is in Tenef on the Jordanian border side.
Wow.
So they are very rich in natural resources. So now that there is a new government that really wants to serve its people, I'm very positive about the new future. Also, they already had talks with Qatar to make deals with Qatar. So Qatar opens the gas pipes, which was planned since more than 20 years. They are now already, they started working on the gas pipes, so Qatar can sell its gas through Syria to the Mediterranean Sea, to Europe, which Europe is in need of because of the Russia-Ukraine war, and Russia is being pressuring Europe through their gas pipes. You know, especially Germany. That's why Germany came only after 2-3 days of the fall of the Assad regime. Germany came or sent a diplomatic team here to speak to the new Syrian government, to make immediate deals with them, because they are very in need of this gas. You know, so everyone has some kind of something that they need of Syria. So, and the new Syrian government, they are very open to diplomatic relationships or relations, and because they want also to rebuild their country. They don't want for this country to continue in this misery and poverty. You know, and these people really, they had enough. And you know, I'm been living here now since more than 10 years with the Syrian people, and I've seen how they are. You know, I mean, you have many bads, like you have in every people, you know, in every nation. I've lived in Germany, I've seen all European countries. I am Turkish originally, I've seen Turkey also. Judgment. The Syrian people, they are very keen to work. They are very hard workers. If you even tell him to work for 20 hours non-stop because we need to rebuild the country, they would do it. They do the impossible possible. You know, literally, they do the impossible things. They make them possible. They make them work somehow. They don't care how, but they make it work. So with all these new natural resources now in their hands and in their controls, and with all now these new diplomatic ties they are trying to make since days now, nearly every day diplomatic teams from around the world are coming to meet with the new Syrian government. So I think the new future looks very positive for Syria, hopefully. And maybe to answer to your question with regards to the refugees to return to their country, maybe not now immediately, but I think in
Yeah.
maximum 2 to 3 years, it will be very possible for them to come back. I've spoken to many refugees in Turkey. They actually only wait for the summer breaks to kick in, so they can for their children to finish their at least this season of educational a year, and then they want to come back because they had enough to live in foreign countries, in other countries that of which they don't know the language, of which they face also racism. They face difficulties in those countries. They don't have citizenship. They don't have the same rights of the normal citizens of their country. So I'm sure they're not happily living there, while knowing that their country is now liberated and there is so much positive things going on, and there is so many opportunities for them to take part in rebuilding their own country.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic news. I mean, I don't want to really stray into the politics of it, because everyone's doing the politics much better than I could ever do. But just a general sense as a layman here, as a Westerner, although I'm a Muslim, but looking at Syria, can we confidently expect a state, a government to emerge that will be representative of all its citizens? So obviously there are various kind of tropes that we have, like ISIS and so on, but is it going to be a government of justice, of the people and for the people? I'm not saying it has to be based on any Western secular model. I'm not arguing that.
Yes.
But can one be confident, nevertheless, that justice is going to be at the forefront, a willingness to serve the people, to see that they get what they need to thrive and survive in this newly emergent Syria? Do you get the sense, because your experience of Turkey, your experience of Germany, and your experience of Syria, that we are hopefully going to, inshallah, see a government emerge that most people in Syria can have some confidence in, that's going to deliver, that it's not going to, be whatever the opposite of that is?
I'm very confident about the new government, at least them, that they will try to be most just, because they have faced injustice themselves by their own skin, so I don't think they want injustice to happen in Syria. I think they see that their own people, because the new Syrian government, they are all Syrians also. It's not some kind of foreign entity that come to Syria and now want to rule Syria. They are all abna al-balad, like they say, the sons of this country, and they are all the people who have sacrificed their blood and their soul for this liberation. So I don't think, after sacrificing everything, or the most valuable thing for them, what they have in their hand to offer, that they are going to be now trying to establish some kind of unjust government. And also from day one, from after the downfall of the Assad regime, the new Syrian government, or the new leader of Syria, he made sure that he met all the minorities of this country, because we have to remember that Syria is not 100% Sunni Muslims. They are Sunnis, they are Shias, they are Nusayris, they are Christians, they are Durzis, Druze. There are many, even amongst the Alawites and the Nusayris, there are even different sects which they live in their own community. They don't they don't interact with other sects, or even if they are from Nusayri and Shia. They all have their own minorities and their own communities, and even in their own little towns and cities, so from day one they made sure that they told them, look, every minority, every religion or sect, make your own, decide for your own, people who are your representatives, and make them come to us. We are going to meet with them. We are going to understand what they want of us and what we can offer them, and they all came to an agreement, because everyone had enough of the war. Everyone had enough of war, and everyone want to work towards something positive. And even yesterday there was a big, this selfie that you were talking about when I was filming, and there was literally nearly 100,000 people in the capital of Syria, in Damascus, behind me. There was one of the most known actor. He's a Christian Syrian, and he lived for more than 12 years now outside Syria, because he was also from the revolutionaries. He wanted the revolution also. So it was not just Sunni Muslims who were against the Assad regime, because every minority but worth mentioning that Sunnis are not minorities. Sunnis are 90% of Syria, but still they were oppressed because a minority was leading the country, which was the Nusayri regime of Assad regime, and they were literally oppressing everyone except the Nusayris. They were even oppressing the Christians. They were even oppressing the Durzis. The Kurdish people, they were not even allowed to have ID cards. They didn't have no identification, Syrian identification, even though they were born and raised in this country, and even though they are living since more than 100 years, since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, they were living in the lands of Syria since the Sykes-Picot deal and everything, you know. So now all these minorities are coming together with the new leadership, and everyone wants to work towards justice. And so this Maxim, this guy who is an actor, a Syrian actor, he was on stage. As a Christian man, he was on stage in front of 100,000 people or even more.
Yeah.
And he gave a speech, and he made the people do takbirat, because he knows that most of these people are Sunnis, and he was saying takbir, and he was making them say Allahu Akbar, you know, God is great, you know. So, you know, I'm very confident and hopeful about the new government, you know, at least that they are going to try their best to, you know, serve justice to the Syrian people who deserve it.
Inshallah. Yeah, no, I very much hope that happens for everyone's sake, for peace and justice in that part of the Middle East, if not in other places, of course. So that's extraordinary. But may I ask a personal question about your future? Now that this whole, I mean, obviously the news is history is continuing. History hasn't stopped. The new Syria hopefully will be an amazing thing to observe and witness and write about and journal, you know, report as a journalist. So you're going to carry on in that area and do your work in Syria still?
Of course, I'm beside my journalism work, I'm also working as a teacher. I'm teaching media actually here since many years, alhamdulillah. So right now it's going to be more needed for me to be here to teach the youngsters, the youth, you know, who are going to be willing to study journalism and media and all sorts of things, you know. And also now the rebel forces, they are owning a government, you know, and I'm sure they are going to be professional people with skill sets. They are going to be needed here, you know. So and we have become a part of these people. I'm living here literally a third of my life. I'm 31. I'm living here since 11 years. So I don't know anything except Syria now, you know. So, and even my children are half Syrian, and so we you know, we love it here, and we were a part of this victory also, and we are going to continue to make sure that or we are going to offer our services you know, for this new government. So, you know, in order for the Syrian people to you know, have a brighter future, inshallah.
Inshallah. No, inshallah. Well, I think that's maybe we can conclude there. Actually, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. Is there anything finally you want to share with us about your experience in Syria, with us and the viewers that we might want to hear? Do you have any final words?
I mean, it's important for us Muslims to understand that life is more important, or life means more than just to live and just to work and just to get over the rounds and just continue life. However, it just you know, happens. Yani, you know, this is my nasiha to myself, my advice to myself, and to the young Muslims who may be watching us. You know, really. I would be very upset if I saw these historic moments happening and I would not be part of it. You know, I was besieged in Aleppo in 2016, that big siege that the whole world also spoke about. For 5 months, we were besieged inside Aleppo. I was so glad that I was inside and not outside, because if I was outside and I was not able to do anything for those 250,000 Muslims who were besieged inside Aleppo for 5 months, left to starvation and poverty and harsh bombardment, I think I would be very unhappy with myself that Allah does not utilize me in helping those people. But when I was inside, I was very able to help them. I was their voice. I was one of the only ones in the English and Turkish language, that was that was spreading the news and the events that was happening inside the siege of Aleppo. And even today now, I'm glad that Allah has utilized us and me, especially here in this victory, and it's really time to ask ourselves, what are we doing? We all have to have some kind of part in the ummah. The ummah is a whole body, and it doesn't mean that you need to be in Syria. Nobody should understand me wrong. I'm not calling anyone to come to Syria, no, but you can be part of the ummah. Even there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says that where the Prophet says that whoever does not feel the pain of the ummah, that he is not from the ummah. So this is very dangerous. If you don't feel the pain of the ummah, not just Syria, that what is happening in Gaza, what's happening in East Turkestan, what's happening in the whole world, in the Islamic countries, and the all injustice. So we all need to really make sure that we play some kind of role in helping the oppressed, especially not just Muslims, the oppressed around the whole globe, and especially Muslims, especially as the youth, because I see that not just the Muslim world, the whole world, that this new world order made us so busy with so much nonsense that we have stopped asking ourselves, what is the reason that we exist on this world, and I think this is intentionally made, so it's easier to rule and run the world and control us, so we really should ask ourselves, for what are we living here, and what is the purpose of my life, and set yourself some goals and targets that is worth fighting for, that's worth living for,
Inshallah. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you very much. And if people want to follow you on Twitter, you have a Twitter handle. You've got a lot of followers there. You're constantly updating us in many languages, Turkish and English and so on, with live events. You can see actual history being recorded by yourself on your Twitter feed, and you have a website as well, the New Middle East podcast, actually. So
yes.
do have a look at that as well. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you're very busy and there's so much going on. Very grateful. Inshallah, you keep well and your family keep well, and that Syria will bring justice will come about finally for the people of Syria, whatever their background, and that Syria can be a prosperous country once again. It has huge resources, as you mentioned as well. So thank you very much, and Assalamu alaikum until next time.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam.